Good evening. I'm Jesse Waters in for Good evening. I'm Jesse Waters in for Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle from New York. Thank you for watching the special The Trump Agenda in 2018. And that agenda just got a huge head start when President Trump signed the sweeping $1.5 trillion tax cut into law this morning.
We had the largest tax cuts in our history just approved, and I was going to wait for a formal signing sometime in early January, but then I watched the news this morning and they were all saying, will he keep his promise? Will he sign it by Christmas? It's an honor to have you with us, and we will sign this right now. This is something I'm very proud of. Great for our country, great for the American people. Thank you all.
Looking forward to 2018, this tax cut could be a huge difference maker. Right now, Democrats think they're poised for big gains in the midterm elections because of polls showing the supposed unpopularity of both the president and the tax cut. But if those cuts make an already humming economy really take off, the president and the GOP will be in the driver's seat come November. Trump seems ready to roll. He already revealed one of his top priorities for early 2018 before heading to Mar-a-Lago for the Christmas break.
I really do believe we're going to have a lot of bipartisan work done, and maybe we start with infrastructure, because I really believe infrastructure can be bipartisan. We've spent $7 trillion in the Middle East, not to mention all of the lives and all of the heartache, and it's so sad. $7 trillion. It's time for us to rebuild our country.
The president may finally get that bipartisan support. It would seem difficult for Democrats, of all people, to argue against more domestic spending. So much to talk about. Let's bring in our guests. Fox News contributor and former advisor to the president, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, is in Washington. And civil rights attorney and talk radio host Leo Terrell is in Los Angeles, California. So, Doctor, I'll start with you. Trump will have to run, along with his allies in Congress, on reality. They can point to people's bank accounts and say, there, that's the tax cut. Democrats, on the other hand, are running on emotion. They're running on envy. And they're saying the rich are bad and you're getting hosed. Do you think that's going to be hard for the Republicans to out-message?
Look, Jesse, first things first, thanks for having me, and congratulations on that sterling speech you gave at Turning Point USA the day before yesterday.
Oh, thank you very much.
That was quite a speech.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Doctor.
I try. But what are the Democrats going to run on? We have 3% GDP growth rates already, 1.5 million jobs created, the lowest unemployment in 17 years. Everybody who pays taxes is going to get a tax cut. What are they going to run on? I just don't see the message. Let's remind ourselves, Jesse, President Obama was the only president since the Depression who never reached 3% GDP growth rate for 1 year for his whole 8 years in office. The 2018 is going to be incredible for the president. It's going to be incredible for all Americans. Whether you voted for him or not, you will have an incredible 2018.
So, Leo, the point is the Democrats have not taken any ownership of the economy. They didn't vote for the tax cuts. They've been against everything the president's been doing. So when the economy's humming along, they can't claim any credit. Is that going to be difficult for the Democrats to run against a soaring economy?
You know, I'm going to win this argument by using Republican principles. Today, when President Trump signed that bill, he threw Republicans in blue states under the bus. There's a reason why Republicans voted against this bill. Let me tell the American public. Americans in New York, California are going to be double taxed. Now they're going to have the disadvantage of paying not only a federal tax, but state and local tax. They have wiped out the interest deduction on mortgage. And let me tell you how important that is. It is amazing how Republicans like Peter King, like Dana Rohrabacher, and like Darrell Issa have said, this bill is not good. And you know what? Selling this bill is going to be very tough, because even your own Fox News contributor, Karl Rove, said, Mr. President, stay in the White House because you're unpopular. Right now, President Trump could not sell free groceries to the American public.
I'm not so sure about it. You do make a good point, though, about the New York and California people. I'm probably going to get hammered, and that's fine. I understand that. But for the majority of Americans, I mean, you see AT&T announcing, Comcast announcing, they're showering workers hundreds of thousands of workers with $1,000 Christmas bonus checks as a result of the tax cut, Dr. Gorka.
Jesse, I
Hold
know
on, let
your
the doctor
friend.
finish.
I know your guest likes autocratic presidents like President Obama, who thinks they can dictate everything that happens in this country. But we have states' rights, and the president can't help it if California or New York or Connecticut is hosing the people that live there. That's the state's decision to do so. And if you don't like it in New York and Connecticut, you can do something about it as a voter. I was in Nevada this week. I was stumping for Danny Turkanian. They hosted the event in the Extreme Manufacturing headquarters. They make those extendable forklift trucks. Think of this one thing. Biggest manufacturer of these forklift trucks. Last year, each of these cost $200,000. Last year, they sold 115. Jesse, thanks to Donald Trump, thanks to the unleashing of the economy, Extreme Manufacturing has a back order of 900 units. That's the Trump effect.
Hey, let me just, Dr. Gorka, answer these two questions. Fundamental American principle, to be a homeowner, to buy a home. Every American homeowner got a hose because right now the interest deduction on mortgage rates have been eliminated. More importantly, what happened to the old traditional fiscal conservative? Spending cuts with tax cuts. Where's Paul Ryan's videos? All of a sudden, we're going to forget about spending cuts. This tax bill adds $1.5 million to the deficit. Where's all the fiscal conservative Republicans?
Gorka, you want to take this one, or do you want me to? I'll take half of it, and I already know what's going to be on the agenda in 2018. They want to try to get some sort of welfare reform done, which will cut spending. And a lot of people are predicting massive growth as a result of the tax cut, which is going to bring in more revenue to the federal government. Dr. Gorka, do you want to finish off that point?
I just have to. So suddenly the left cares about spending. I mean, President Obama doubled the money this nation owns in comparison to every other president that came before him. Suddenly they care about how much money the federal government is wasting. Come on, guys, let's be serious.
You know, Leo, you are using so many Republican talking points. I think you might have to change your party.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm just showing the hypocrisy about what the Republicans are saying. This is so unlike Republicans. And more importantly, Trump has just signed the execution warrant for every blue state congressional Republican because, you know what? Like Karl Rove, Fox News contributor, said, Mr. President, stay in the White House.
All right, well,
I see. So now he has no credibility.
Leo, let me just add this.
He's a rhino.
Hold on, Dr. Gorka.
Yes, he's a rhino.
The House is under siege.
Leo, shame on you.
Let's lay off our own contributors here for a second. The House is under siege. I agree that historically it flips when the other party's out of power. I get that. But you know what? The DNC's broke. They only have about $4 million cash on hand. The RNC has about $45 million cash on hand. They're going to need to fundraise a little bit more if they think they're going to win back anything.
Let me hit that out of the park right now. In Alabama, in December, guess what?
Yeah.
More Democrats came out in December of 2018 than the 2014 midterm election. Those are numbers telling you the Democrats are going to create a storm in 2018, and they're going to take over the midterm election. There are people who are upset with this president. Can't sell groceries, can't sell free groceries, because you know what? He's alienated the American public with his rhetoric.
Dr. Gorka, go ahead.
The only people upset with this president are the people who don't understand why America chose him on November the 8th and who know that if this economy keeps on trucking, that they're in trouble. The Democrat Party is now predicated on one thing, Jesse, and it's really sad. It is predicated on this president failing and on this economy failing. That's un-American. To wish that people don't get tax breaks, to wish that you shouldn't get a bonus from AT&T. Why would you do that? Everybody's boat can rise. Everybody's boat can float. But no, I'm going to have to vote for the other person losing money.
You keep talking about those bonuses. Those bonuses, we were promised jobs, not bonuses. Bonuses are one-time giveaways.
We got jobs.
We're talking about jobs. You bring me back in 12 months and let's see the impact of this tax cut.
All right, well, listen, Leo, there's already been 2 million jobs created since the president came into office. So wages are going to go up as a result of this, and jobs. Come on, the thing hasn't even kicked in yet. Are you willing to give it a chance?
more than 1 million people, in less than a year have been taken off food stamps, suckling on their government teat, and come back to work. How can you not be thankful that that is happening?
Okay. See, you're changing the subject. I want to stick to that great tax
jobs.
Bill. And let me say right
jobs.
now, you're making a massive assumption that these corporations are not going to buy back their stock. It's to their incentive to buy back their stock because these executives will get nice, huge bonuses. I know this. I've studied this. I'm telling you right now,
Leo,
you can't guarantee they'll give them jobs.
Leo, you're the only one that could complain about American workers getting $1,000 bonus checks. How is that a bad thing? Why can't you just say it's good?
You're getting jobs.
I want jobs. I don't want tip money. I want a job. Okay?
Tip money?
I want a job.
Leo,
promised jobs.
you must be living large. I've never tipped a G.
You have to live in the real words. I'm sorry. You have to
Let's not confuse a bonus with a job.
All right,
let's not confuse a bonus with a job.
Listen, I think let's wait and see how it plays out. But Leo, man, tipping $1,000.
Bring me back in 12 months.
I need to come work for you.
Bring me back in 12 months and let's see how many jobs were created.
All right, I got to go. Guys, thank you very much.
Merry Christmas.
All right, while Trump keeps winning, the Russia investigation is running into some real turbulence. We're going to get the inside scoop from a congressman who just grilled behind closed doors a top FBI official at the center of the latest controversy, and why the spotlight may be shifting to Hillary Clinton. Stay tuned. The special counsel's Russia probe will return next year, but now it's the FBI that's coming under mounting scrutiny, and for unexpected reasons. This week, FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe went before two House committees behind closed doors for official grillings over the Russia probe. But it's the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email scandal that's suddenly coming into sharp focus. Congressman Matt Gaetz joins us from Florida with new information about his Judiciary Committee meeting with McCabe yesterday. Welcome, Congressman. So, what happened behind closed doors, and what are you allowed to say to us?
Well, Jesse, this was the first in what will be a series of confidential interviews that we'll be having with key witnesses that had a front row seat to the exoneration of Hillary Clinton, which seems to depart from the standard practices and procedures. So I can't share with you the specific questions or answers. I can share with you my reactions to them. And I can tell you three things that have been confirmed for me. First, Hillary Clinton absolutely got special treatment. Her process departed from the standard process most Americans would face. Second, she received that special treatment because she was a candidate for president. No other reason. Third thing that we absolutely know, there were people in the highest levels of this government that were doing everything possible to make sure that Hillary Clinton did not face consequences. Some of those very people have now migrated over to the Mueller probe and are persecuting the president of the United States without a valid basis. And that's why the work we're doing in the Judiciary Committee is so important.
All right, that's very interesting. So we all know that Hillary got special treatment from, the tarmac meeting to writing an exoneration letter before exonerating her, to softening the language to take out the criminality, to, she went in for an interview and wasn't under oath. So we know that happened. At this point, what are you going to do about it?
Well, we have to change the laws so that this can never happen again. We've also got to find out whether or not some of the bribes paid to the Clinton Foundation are actively disrupting the policies and priorities of the United States on a going forward basis. And until we have a thorough investigation of the potential bribes that the Clinton Foundation took and then the actions that fell as a consequence of those bribes, I fear that we won't truly know the depth of the corruption in the last administration. But we've got to change the laws so that never again can we have a circumstance where someone gets special treatment because of their political status or because they're a candidate for high office. That is not the blind lady justice that we promise the American people in this country under our Constitution, Jesse.
I agree with that 100%. So are you calling for a new or second special counsel to investigate Hillary and the foundation and all that?
Well, for 5 months now, Jesse, over 20 members of the Judiciary Committee have been calling for a second special counsel to investigate the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton email server, and the entire handling of that process. But what's so troubling to me is that the Attorney General has been sitting on his hands. Despite the fact that we've had these calls for a second special counsel, the Attorney General hasn't done it. And it's just a double standard when you've got this special counsel that has a limitless budget, limitless authority persecuting the president, and we're not looking at the real crimes from the real criminals.
Okay, Okay, so can I ask you, I know you're not allowed to say everything, but did you ask McCabe about that meeting where it was the FBI agent who hated Trump and his mistress? They were in this meeting and they talked about protecting the country from a Trump presidency and taking out an insurance policy if Trump was elected president. Did you ask about that?
Well, Jesse, I can't go into the specific questions asked and the answers provided, but I will say that when you look at the commentary from the mainstream media on that, they're just spinning because they have no idea how to explain it. But the American people.
All right, listen, I'm going to assume that you asked about that because that is huge. I would assume that you did. Now, this is just breaking. I don't know if you know about it, but it looks like James Baker, who was the top lawyer in the FBI, was just reassigned. Turns out they found he had contact with this left-wing outfit, Mother Jones and David Corn. And 2 weeks later, after he had contact with them, they break the dossier story. Seems really suspicious.
Yeah, I don't think James Baker is a lawyer in this fact pattern anymore. I believe that Mr. Baker is a witness. And because he's a witness, I think he very well may be one of the next people called before one of these committees conducting a fact-based investigation, because certainly we've had at the very highest levels of the FBI and the Department of Justice a number of contaminating events that erode the American people's confidence in the unbiased nature of these critical institutions.
Well, it seems like the more people investigate, it's the Democrats that look guilty of corruption, not Trump. But we'll see. You know, anything could happen. And Congressman Gates, thanks for your service. Thank
you, Jesse.
All right. So with all these key players suddenly coming under scrutiny, could the Russia probe backfire on Democrats? Welcome back to this Ingraham Angle special, the Trump agenda in 2018. Democrats still think the ongoing Russia investigation could be their ace in the hole against the president next year, but it could boomerang on them. A Wall Street Journal poll today released shows the public is souring on Mueller. While his positive rating is inched up from 24 to 28% since June, his negative numbers jumped from 11 to 21% in the same period. And no wonder, with all the bitter anti-Trump bias revealed among Mueller's top investigators and key players at the FBI and Justice Department. But some Democrats are stuck in utter denial.
So when Special Counsel Mueller was appointed, Republicans praised him, Republicans like Newt Gingrich and others. Now they're attacking him, and the only thing that's changed is 2 guilty pleas plus 2 additional indictments. So they're afraid, I think, of facts and evidence that Mueller is uncovering, and that is not a good justification to try to smear his team.
So evidence of blatant anti-Trump bias by investigators isn't justification for questioning the probe? You kidding me? Let's examine that with political analyst and former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino in Palm City, Florida. And in Washington, former Ohio State Senate Minority Leader Capri Cafaro. All right, Dan, this is just Republicans working the refs. You know, when a coach yells at the officials and then the next time they maybe get a better call. I don't think there's anything wrong with criticizing if the Mueller investigation is doing something wrong. Do you?
No, and Jesse, why shouldn't we criticize it? Let's walk through what happened here, okay? You had a man at the top in Jim Comey who admitted to starting or initiating, trying to start this special counsel by leaking information to the press. You had a number 2 in Andy McCabe, whose wife was running as a state senator as a Democrat in the state of Virginia and taking money from Clinton acolytes. You had a number 2 in charge of the investigation, Peter Strzok, talking with his mistress about an insurance policy in case Donald Trump is elected. And wait, let me get this straight. We're not supposed to ask questions about any of that. That's only in the liberal, bizarre fantasy land they live in. In the real world, you're darn right we're going to ask questions, and we're right to do so.
All right, yeah, so Capri, the congressman that you heard at the top is saying, you know, in the beginning the Republicans liked Mueller, but now they've changed their tune. I think Republicans have changed their tune because of what Dan said. I mean, they're hiring a bunch of Clinton donors and former Clinton lawyers. They're having to fire guys from trying to subvert Trump and talk trash about Trump. It makes sense why his numbers are going down. It's his fault.
Well, I mean, I think you're conflating 2 separate issues, Jesse. One is, you know, are Republicans in Congress rather souring on Bob Mueller, or is the American public souring on him? And I know at the top of the segment, you mentioned that Wall Street Journal poll.
Right.
You know, basically what that looks like to me is that people just don't even know who Bob Mueller is. You know, because if you have 21% of the people saying that they have an unfavorable and 28% saying they have a favorable, that means that less than 50% of America has any idea who Bob Mueller is.
And you know what? I would agree with that, because if I went out on the street and I asked the first 10 people I saw who Mueller was, I bet it maybe 3, maybe 4, probably 3 would know. But Dan, doesn't that just say that the public really doesn't care that much about the Russia story? It has nothing to do with jobs, wages, or national security.
Yeah, I'm personally glad that Looney Tunes Democrats, like the ones in Congress, are wasting all their time on this conspiracy theory, Trump-Russian collusion nonsense, because while that happened, we've been dumping red tape. We've been appointing absolutely great, stellar conservative justices. We've been cutting taxes. So listen, Ted Lieu, Adam Schiff, knock yourselves out. Have a field day with your dopey special counsel. What's that?
Both from California, correct?
Yeah,
I mean, California.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, the people out there in California really dislike the Republican Party. But let me get back to you, Capri. It seems like Mueller's basically the Democrat candidate for president. It's the only person that could stop Donald Trump's reelection, and the Democrats are putting all their eggs in the Mueller basket. And if he clears everybody else after this, they have nothing.
Look, I think that there's a camp of Democrats out there that, you know, hope for the worst, that think that, okay, you know, if President Trump fires Bob Mueller, which he said he's not going to do, but if he does it, then that opens the door for obstruction of justice, and therefore they can go after impeachment and go down that rabbit hole.
I think the Democrats want President Trump to fire Mueller, because that's all they talk about.
There's a camp out there that thinks that. There is another camp, and I belong, frankly, to the other camp, that believes the best path for Democrats is to show that they are adults in the room, to show that they can govern, that they are putting people first. I'm from Ohio. We care about jobs. Certainly we want to make sure that the Russia investigation is done, and the American public deserve answers in a fair manner about that issue, about what happened in the 2016 election. Ultimately, the Democrats, the way that we win is when we turn people out, actually, as we have done in some of the more recent elections in 2017. But we need to have a message to show what we offer to the American public.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what the Democrat message is on the border, on ISIS. I mean, I do know they think Trump's a traitor. That's about it. Go ahead,
well,
Dan.
come to Ohio, and I think that there'll be some folks that have.
No, I'm just talking about, you know, congressional Democrats. But go ahead, Dan.
Yeah. No, Jesse, the Democrats' message 2018, I love what they're going to run on. Give us more of your money, give us back your health care, and let us send your kid to a crap school that's failing. I mean, that's going to be their message. Oh, and by the way, we're going to continue to investigate a Trump-Russia investigation, which, by the way, has produced zero. That's a donut. The absence of value has produced no evidence of Russian collusion at all.
Very interesting, Capri. So this started off as a collusion investigation or an obstruction investigation. I mean, when we just looked at the segment before, there's more evidence of Democrat collusion or Democrat obstruction than there is anything that Donald Trump or his campaign has done, right?
I don't know who you're asking that question to, but I think that, again,
you know,
the American public deserves answers regardless of party, whether it's Democrat or Republican.
I agree with that.
So, you know, if there's smoke and fire, you know, we need to have an impartial investigation regardless of the party.
There's no smoke.
All right. Well, listen, I think we'll just wait to see how this thing plays out. Could take months, could take years, but, you know, I think we'll finally get to the truth, hopefully. Guys, I got to run.
Let's hope.
2018 is set to become a make or break year for President Trump's immigration agenda. Should he use the looming fight with Democrats over DACA as leverage to achieve his goals? That debate when this Ingraham Angle special returns. Welcome back to this Ingraham Angle special, the Trump agenda in 2018. One of the most burning issues next year will be what kind of DACA deal the president may strike with Congress. Many conservatives, including much of the president's base, adamantly oppose amnesty for the illegal immigrants called the Dreamers. But will the president use a DACA deal as leverage to implement the rest of his immigration agenda, such as ending chain migration and building the wall? Let's bring in our guests. Former Nevada State GOP Chair Amy Tarkanian is in Las Vegas, and documentary filmmaker and radio host Clay Kane is here in New York. All right, Clay, we'll start with you. Schumer and Pelosi just getting hammered by the left for not using the DACA deal as leverage to shut down the government. Do you think that's justified?
I think it's complicated. I understand why folks on the left are upset, but we need more time. The truth of the matter is that this has all started, this madness, because of Trump is so anti-immigrant. You know, Trump.
Well, wait a second.
Trump has had a whole platform.
He's married to an immigrant.
No, but he's had a whole platform against immigration, and him coming out saying illegal immigration. Well, no, I mean even folks who are legal, like the horrible terrorist attack that happened here in New York City. He now is using that as an excuse to push his build a wall policy. So the truth of the matter
is
that
end chain migration in the lottery.
But he was a legal immigrant, Jesse. The guy who was here was a legal immigrant
through a bad system.
Well, that's part of our system.
Right, and he wants to change that.
That's part of our system. But the point is that Trump has really caused this debasing of our culture when it comes to immigrants in this country, illegal immigrants or not. And I really feel that if it wasn't for his disgusting rhetoric, that we wouldn't have this implosion within the Democratic Party. It's going to take time.
Okay. Amy, please set him straight. I think the president wants to save the Dreamers. That's why he cut this deal in the fall with Crying Chuck and Nancy, correct?
Absolutely. And you know, it's not disgusting rhetoric. We have somebody who wants to protect the U.S. citizens. We have somebody who wants to make sure that these Dreamers are taken care of correctly. You know, we're talking about human lives. You can't just sit there and put people who have broken the law
what does correctly mean?
Above
Kicking them out?
who are here legally and doing things correctly. You're not superior to those who are U.S. citizens doing the right thing.
Well, I'm curious to know what correctly means. And with all due respect, Amy and her husband have created an entire political career on being anti-immigrant. Her husband even went as far. Her husband even went as far to say that Hispanics in Nevada should be profiled, just in case somebody thinks that.
Let's leave her husband out of it. Her husband's not on the show, so let's leave the husband out of it.
She's on his side.
Out of respect.
So they thought that was unconstitutional in Nevada. So she is only for the Constitution if it doesn't apply to immigrants.
Let me ask you a question.
Clay, we're definitely not anti-immigrant. In fact, my
wanted them to be
husband's
police.
Just hold on.
You wanted racial profiling.
Just let her
the
finish.
Armenian genocide and came here correctly. And so we're for making sure that people do the right thing. We're a nation of laws. And if you have a problem
we are
with
a nation of laws, and racial profiling was unconstitutional according to the Nevada Supreme Court.
All right, we're getting sidetracked here, Clay. So if the Republican Party puts building the wall in an immigration package that includes saving the Dreamers, will Democrats vote for that?
I mean, listen, building a wall, the majority of folks who are here illegally.
Will they vote for it, do you think?
The majority of folks who are here illegally, Jesse, they're here because of overstayed visas, not a wall. So the whole idea is ridiculous. I feel like Trump isn't really informed on how immigration works in this country. A wall isn't going to do anything. If you want to have stricter immigration laws, that's fine. But to kick out when it comes to DACA, to kick out, on my radio show, I interviewed somebody who found out he was illegal when he applied for college.
Clay, I think you're a little misinformed about what the president wants to do with the Dreamers.
You are too.
The president says he wants to save the Dreamers.
What does save the Dreamers mean?
And make sure they're legal and not kicked out.
No,
that's why he cut the deal with Nancy and Crying Chuck. Let's move on, though. I want to get to another topic. We have a report that just came out, Amy, that says, I think, 90% or something like that of 92% of the inmates in federal prison, a lot of those people are illegal immigrants. Mm-hmm. And why are they there, first of all? And second of all, it's not just because they've overstayed their visas or because they get picked up on an immigration beef. A lot of it's through felonies.
Sure. Well, you know, the interesting thing is, you know, he mentioned the wall. You know, I think since Election Day took place, you've now had roughly the flow of 2/3 of illegal immigrants. Actually, it's cut down by 2/3, and that's without the wall even being built. That's with a president who, with his rhetoric is very strong, with his tone.
So it's a verbal wall. Trump's put up a verbal wall.
The flow.
No, I understand. No, the rhetoric's important. What do you think about that?
Well, Actually,
You have to be happy that there's less illegal immigration.
illegal immigration has gone down. I mean, it's been going down for a few years.
Do you think that's a good thing, Clay?
No, I do think it's a good thing. Listen,
Okay, good. So
we
you're
are a
not
nation of law.
pro-illegal immigration.
No, I'm not saying anybody should come into this country. If you come into this country illegally,
so
that
you want to
obviously should be
prevent people from
controlled.
coming here illegally?
Yeah, we are. Listen.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
So
go through
would
the
a
actual
wall help
process.
do that?
I don't think a wall.
Why not?
First of all,
a wall stops people from crossing.
Like I said, Jesse, if you were informed, like being informed,
Yes.
the majority of folks are here. They're here because of overstayed visas. That's why they're the majority of folks who are here.
There's millions of illegal aliens that cross the border illegally.
A wall is insanely expensive. We already have a horrible tax bill that's coming.
When have Democrats ever cared about the cost?
That's going to give us more of a deficit. I don't think we need a wall, and I also don't think we need to kick out people who are already here. You know, every part of American life is affected by immigration.
Listen, it's
Jesse,
funny because
that
we got to run.
percentage-
We got to run, Amy. It's just funny that the only time the Democrats care about government spending is when it comes to protecting the borders. But guys, I got to run.
Merry Christmas, Jesse.
All
Merry
right, thank
Christmas.
you.
While the fate of the wall and many border issues are still up in the air, the muscular Trump foreign policy is scoring some big wins overseas. We'll look at some of the president's foreign policy challenges in 2018, including what to do about the little guy with the nukes who Trump said he would never call short. Welcome back to this Ingraham Angle special, the Trump agenda in 2018. Foreign policy challenges will again loom large. China, Afghanistan, revisiting the Iran nuke deal and pursuing peace in the Mideast. But the real flashpoint is likely to be the brewing confrontation with North Korea over its nuclear ambitions. On that score, Trump got a big win at the UN today and celebrated with this tweet, quote, "The United Nations Security Council just voted 15-0 in favor of additional sanctions on North Korea. The world wants peace, not death." But the administration's critics just can't handle the sight of the U.S. reasserting itself on the world stage, such as recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's rightful capital.
I saw Nikki Haley yesterday actually threatening, like a mob boss, threatening member states of the United Nations. You either be with us on this non-binding resolution, or else we will always remember, and we may yank humanitarian aid out of the mouths of the most truly disadvantaged on the planet.
Mob boss. Is that how the left sees a strong woman in charge? And making clear to other countries that the U.S. will no longer turn the other cheek? Let's bring in our guests. Jim Hansen of the Center for Security Policy and former State Department official David Tafuri. All right, Jim, I want to just start with these sanctions that we just slapped on North Korea. Cuts fuel imports by about 90%, forces about 100,000 North Korean workers who are working in other countries to return back. That really dries up their hard currency. And then it tightens North Korean shipping inspections. China and Russia went along with that. Is that tough enough?
It's about time, and I think we are on last chances for Kim Jong-un. I mean, at this point, we've done all the strategic patience, as Obama called his policy, that we can afford to. So President Trump said, you have one chance to do this. Russia, stop dealing on the black market with them. China, stop propping them up. And let's see if there is any chance at all that diplomacy and economic sanctions will stop this guy from his nuclear ambitions. If it doesn't, the world now knows that President Trump means what he says, and there will be consequences. Consequences that will leave parts of North Korea as smoking rubble.
David, do you think Little Rocket Man's going to get the message or not?
Well, I hope so. This is a victory for the world and for the U.S., which led this Security Council resolution and pushed it through, as you mentioned, 15-0, with all 5 permanent members supporting it, including
you mean the
Russia
mob
and
boss
China.
Nikki Haley gets some credit?
Well, you're mixing up two different things. The Security Council resolution or the action in the UN on Jerusalem.
I know,
and the
but she's
embassy in
still the
Jerusalem
UN
and
ambassador.
North Korea, they're two different things, and her actions were different in each case. And I applaud her actions on North Korea, and she really took leadership there, and it's a big success. On the Jerusalem thing, it's right to criticize her tactics a little bit. Of course, the U.S. has every right to move its embassy if it wants to do that, but but that wasn't a positive thing with respect to advancing the peace process between Israel and Palestine. And I wish the president had a plan for that. And I wish Nikki Haley was talking about that rather than just moving our embassy. That would be more productive.
I think he has some sort of plan. And isn't he sending Jared Kushner over there, Jim? I think he's going to straighten everything out, right?
He's got a plan, and it's already in play. And the big change has been the new crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia, is going to be an ally in this as opposed to an obstacle. So the first step he took was saying, hey, we're going to stop this delusion that hasn't helped anyone anytime of pretending that the capital of Israel is not Jerusalem, and we're going to put our embassy where it belongs, sending a reality check to the Palestinians and to everyone who's been helping them obstruct peace for all these years. So that was a great start to these negotiations, and the plan will follow on from there.
And David, another new development this week, which was pretty interesting. I think the president wants to send lethal arms over to our ally in Ukraine, something the Obama administration never wanted to do for our ally. They just wanted to send food. That's pretty tough when it comes to confronting Russia. If Trump's a big Russia puppet, why is he acting so tough on Russia all of a sudden?
Jesse, I couldn't agree with you more. This is also a very substantial development, and I applaud the Trump administration for finally doing this. There's a lot of dissonance in the Trump policy towards Russia and towards Ukraine. Remember, it was the Trump campaign that pushed for changing the Republican platform in July at the Republican convention, and they removed the provision for arming the Ukrainians from the platform. So now he's reversed that, and that's a positive, but there's very little else that he has done to take a stance against Russia. He still seems to support Putin and Russia at every chance that he has. And so I would like to see a statement from the president saying that Russia should get out of eastern Ukraine, that Russia should not have taken Crimea, and that the U.S. will not tolerate expansionism by Russia in Europe, and that the U.S. is going to stand with its NATO allies in preventing that. We haven't heard that from President Trump, but I agree with you. This change is a welcome one.
No, listen, I agree with you somewhat, but to say that Trump's been soft on Russia, he sent about 50 Tomahawk missiles into Russia's friend's backyard when he nailed Bashar Assad for the chemical weapons violation, and now the other proxy, Iran, the nuke deal's in the crosshairs. So I don't think he's been really that soft on Russia. But Jim, why don't you take it from there?
He hasn't done anything else in Syria to take a stance against Russia. In fact, he's moved towards Russia's policy in Syria. He's pulled back support for the moderate forces that are fighting against Russia, Iran, and Assad.
Well, he also wiped out ISIS on the battlefield in Iraq, so that's a pretty good thing. Jim, I'll give you the last word.
I think when President Trump managed to go ahead and, as you mentioned, take out a Russian airfield in Syria while ordering chocolate cake with the Chinese president, that sent a pretty good message. And right now, what we need is a way to get to peace. If he's got to make a deal with the Russians to make that happen, good. Better that than more fighting.
All right, guys, we got to run. And Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Back at you.
All right, Vice President Mike Pence delivers a special holiday message from President Trump to our troops serving in Afghanistan right after this.